Perfect Turd Podcast, episode 111. Lamar, we have a special guest with us, Mr. Stephen Biro from Unearthed Films.
Hello, sir.
Good afternoon and salutations.
Thank you so much for being with us, and well, we can first start off by saying this. I saw Song of Solomon, and Joe, you saw American Guinea Pig.
I watched American Guinea Pig Sacrifice last night.
American Guinea Pig Sacrifice.
We're still we're learning about what Unearthed Films is all about and everything. We're newbies. So.
Yes.
Well, that's good. That's good because it's sort of really weird because, we've been really a section of the extreme horror community since 2000.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And, we've always released, with the original Guinea Pig series, Aftermath, and Slaughtered Vomit Dolls and stuff. But we also released Frankenhooker and Rock and Roll. But since we specialize in the extreme stuff,
mm-hmm.
It seems like the extreme genre is actually becoming its own genre now. So the horror fans are like, what's this about extreme horror films? And they're like, oh, go to Unearthed and check them out. And they do. And yeah.
Now we gotta ask, of course, like with Unearthed Films, it's really setting itself up as extreme horror. How did you get into extreme horror movies yourself?
The thing is that when I was young, really young, 13, I watched Andy Warhol's Flesh for Frankenstein. And I was like, oh, what is this? And then I just, went for Bloodsucking Freaks, Faces of Death. And I always dug the more extreme horror films just because usually, a lot more effects. And I think there's an artistry to it in a way,
Mm-hmm.
So I always, gravitated to the extreme stuff. And I figured at the time when Anchor Bay was around and Media Blasters and all those other guys, I was like, we're gonna specialize in extreme horror just because, it will be one of a kind. And since you guys just watched Solomon and Sacrifice the other day, yeah, what did you think?
Joe?
Well, one thing I was, and you alluded to it with this, the special effects were insanely awesome.
Yes.
I mean, for me, not really having watched extreme horror, I was like a deer in the headlights throughout the movie and stuff. But at the same time, I was like, man, the special effects are really awesome in this. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's my cup of tea yet, but there's definitely things that, like you were saying, I appreciate about it, and that's the special effects. Wow, I was blown away. Awesome.
Yeah, the part, and we were talking about this before, Song of Solomon, the preacher, sorry if this is spoilers, but ripping out his own eyes, and I was like, oh man, that's crazy. And I was like, hey, how'd they do that? So that looks like it takes time. It looks like it takes a lot of material and just to pull that off and also to make it look real. So I was just amazed by just the effects of, just all of the blood and the guts and everything like that.
Yeah, I had two really great, amazing FX artists working on Solomon. That's Marcus Cook and Jeremy Cruz. Marcus Cook directed the movie 100 Tears. Really cool clown slasher, and it's really up there in the body count. And I had him work with me on American Guinea Pig, Bouquet, Guts, and Gore.
Okay.
And yeah, if you guys haven't seen that yet, yeah, I don't know if you're in for a treat, but you're in for a treat.
Well, that leads to so what's your feeling on, would you use digital effects in the films, or do you only favor practical?
Always favor practical because old school people, love the practical, the artistry, the masterwork of it. And to pull off some of the stuff with physical, a lot harder because digital, you don't do it yourself. You send it to somebody in India.
Oh, yeah, it's true.
And I mean, you can do some great stuff with the digital, and I'd love to, but that's out of the price range usually too. Even for say a $300,000 movie, usually you can tell it's CGI.
Yeah.
When you're making films that are 10 million, 5 million, yeah, you can do some nice CGI, you know.
Does
Yeah.
everyone get grossed out on set? Is it like in super intense on set with all that?
Nobody's really grossed out because, you know, they're seeing it all, you know, planned,
Come together,
built,
yeah.
come together, you know, like that bed in Solomon, that was like a jigsaw puzzle to where it would come apart in places. So she would be hiding underneath the bed, but her fake body and the fake arms and everything was sticking out. But once in a while, a real arm would have to go through and stuff. So it's like, so when you see all that, you know, it's not scary. I mean, usually it's an intense shooting schedule though, just because the effects take up so much time. And I think the worst part about it is the stickiness of the floor.
Yeah.
Because like he was watching Solomon, the FX guys that were underneath the bed. I was underneath the bed too with a monitor, and they were pumping the blood, and all the blood would go up and then come straight down. So the FX artists had to take 3 showers that day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I watched Solomon too a couple weeks ago. I like that more than Sacrifice because I like the whole exorcism plots. I love those types of movies. So
Solomon's picking up steam lately.
cool.
Just because more and more people are finding it, and you know, too, because with an independent movie, it takes a while for it to get out there.
Yeah.
You know, to where the fans watch and they're like, dude, you got to watch this. And then it grows. So it's interesting and fun because so many people haven't heard of a bunch of movies that, you know, I've grown up with. So it's nice to rescue them and put them out, you know, because not only we're producing our own American Guinea Pig series, but, you know, we got the classics line to where we released The Untold Story with Anthony Wong.
Okay.
And so many people are like, what is this? Have you ever heard of it?
I have not.
No, I have not. Yeah.
Okay. But back in the 90s, it was like Cannibal Holocaust. It was up there,
Okay.
you know, mentioned with Cannibal Holocaust, Make Them Die Slowly, Untold Story, because a lot of people don't know about the Chinese horror films.
Yeah.
And so many of them are just, yeah, they're coming back with a vengeance. And we got Dr. Lamb, which is a big one. It was like one of the first Category 3 movies. It's just wild because so many people don't, you know, never heard of these movies, but they were huge back in the day. So it seems like there's going to be a resurgence now of Chinese horror, because Japanese horror got really huge in 2000 to 2006 or 7. And then it slowly, like, you know, just everybody got their fill. So, but the Chinese horror movies, yeah, those were always really hard to go by. And they're usually just batshit crazy, if I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
You can say that.
Okay, yeah, because the Category 3 section, it was like after Hong Kong, you know, got out of the communist grasp, they were allowed to make the crazy horror movies that they wanted. And these things are demented. Actually, now Hong Kong's having problems with the communist government because they're wanting to take back Hong Kong, and they're forcing them. They can no longer do Category 3 films. I think the Category 3 would be like a hard R, and a Category 2 would be like PG-13, and Category 1 is just, they don't even bother saying it. So
We're now seeing like the Chinese and the Japanese market. Do you see like across the pond and, you know, in other places that people are responding to the type of horror that you do and everything?
It's really weird because the world's getting smaller, you know, and I feel sorry for our international customers because the prices on shipping have skyrocketed recently.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but they're buying like crazy. I mean, we just released Olaf Ittenbach's No Reason and Premutos.
No Reason is on Tubi as well, I think. I saw it.
Oh, well,
I didn't watch it yet, but I put it on my list, I think.
I'm surprised what Tubi puts up there.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, you guys put Sacrifice up on Tubi? I'm like, does Tubi know? Did they watch the movie? There's like things in there. And same thing with the No Reason, but the No Reason is such a viciously violent movie.
Okay.
And it's phenomenal. It'll blow you away. And Premutos we just put out. And have you ever seen Peter Jackson's Dead Alive? It's one of the most splattertastic movies you'll ever see. and that was Peter Jackson before he did The Frighteners.
Okay.
And he did a thing called Bad Taste, but Premutos.
Bad Taste we've seen, yeah.
We know Bad Taste.
reviewed that
Yes.
one.
Okay, there you go. Imagine Bad Taste with a way bigger budget,
Oh, cool.
better film stock, better actors, everything, you know. So, but Premutos is exactly like Dead Alive, you know, to where it's just a slaughter fest. I think at the end of the movie, they had a kill count and it was 136.
Okay, cool.
Jeez.
So we just released that one, and we already sold out, but more is being made. Just because it was released here in the States in 2002 with a horrible dub, no German subtitles, the worst transfer you've ever seen. Ours is like a total giant upgrade, and the dubbing is so bad on that original one, we put it on this for fun.
Wow. Okay.
Do you feel like when it comes to like an extreme genre of film or any kind of art, is there like a line where it goes, like it can cross and all of a sudden it's not art anymore?
I agree with that, you know, there's some things that cross the line and it's no longer art. There's a guy who makes some movies by the name of Marion Dora.
Okay.
And we released his first movie, Cannibal, and did great. It was about the cannibal guy who put an ad in the classifieds in Germany looking for somebody to eat, and somebody answered him. And yeah, they had a love affair, and then he's cutting pieces off them and cooking them. And it's a disgusting movie. But then after that, he did too much artsy fartsy stuff. But yet they're like vomiting and there's poo and it's just like, you know, I'm like, you know, I think he even kills a cat in it.
Jeez.
And when we were looking into releasing it, and I'm just like, man, we can actually get arrested because there's certain state laws that, you know, about movies and whatnot.
Right.
You know? And I had people like, I heard you're putting it out. We're going to like, you know, picket you and, you know, go after you. And I'm like, no. We were just looking at it. And so, yeah, that's too much. You know, that's too much. But then I put out the Vomit Gore movies, which have you ever heard of those?
Not really, no.
No.
People would come up to me at conventions. They're like, what's the Vomit Gore trilogy? I'm like, okay, well, you've heard of the Star Wars trilogy, right? Like, yeah. And I'm like, think of that, but without any lightsabers and a lot more vomit. And they just look at me like I'm nuts, but, you know, I'm having jokes, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. With everything you've seen and everything like that, because I personally didn't know about like specific laws in Alabama and Tennessee and stuff like that. Have you ever been like the target of people trying to stop what you're doing? And then if you have, what do you do about that?
The worst attack I ever had was when I released a joke book.
Really?
It's called, The Ultimate Dead Baby Joke Book.
Okay.
The amount of hate, I mean, I had the BBC Radio, the Mirror, the Sun. I had the Irish government put out a press release how they're going to get my book taken off of Amazon, and women were roaming the streets with petitions, and they got over 100,000 signatures.
Jeez.
And there was about like 10 different groups of women and luckily for me, my second ex-wife who bet me that I couldn't write a whole joke book about dead baby jokes, because I told her one or two that I came up with. She made a bet with me, and she's like, okay, honey, I don't want you to put your name on it because, you know, and I'm like, oh, there'll be nothing going on. Oh yeah, no, everybody was coming after me, death threats, and it was crazy. I mean, it's still available on Amazon. It sold so well over in Europe that I ended up doing the Ultimate Dead Baby Cookbook real quick. Yeah, all sorts of recipes, you know. And but when I put that out, expecting the same thing, they all realized how much marketing they were doing for the book.
Yeah,
because I mean, I was in every newspaper in the UK, you know, every TV show, you know, news that, you know, it got ridiculous. So that was the worst. But I figured I would have had people try to stop me with the guinea pigs, because the original ones, because that's, you know, it was like, you know, the underground fake snuff stuff that just blew people's minds in the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
So, I mean, so I really haven't had problems with any authorities or anything. I'm actually surprised. But I think Pete is going to come after me soon. I got a movie coming up called Calamity of Snakes, and it's a Hong Kong Category 3 movie. It's a snake slaughter fest. Oh my goodness! I mean, it's Chinese people. They have a different view and stuff, you know. And everybody, you know, we made the announcement, and people were like, "Oh wow, dude, that's too much animal death for me." And I'm like, I understand. We're just sort of rescuing it because we did a new scan for it and the color correction. Yeah, but it is comedy, but man, they kill a lot of snakes.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to get in trouble for that.
People don't like snakes as much as they like puppies and stuff, so maybe it'll go unnoticed.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I didn't get in trouble for a Serbian film.
That one I've heard of. I haven't seen it yet, but I've definitely heard of its reputation.
Yes.
Oh, it's an amazing film. Gorgeously shot, great acting, great story. And the bit that everybody freaks out about the baby thing, you can tell it's a doll. You can tell it's fake, and they don't show anything. Man, you know, it's not as bad as everybody says.
Okay.
Most of the people who flip out over it never saw it.
Right.
And I'm like, well, wait till, because I just re-edited an extended cut of it.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, there's more. We'll be releasing that probably next year. I'm actually in the middle of a lawsuit in Germany for Solomon and Serbian Film.
Oh, yeah?
From a company that didn't pay for it.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. So that sucks. So I've been holding off the extended cut until I win the lawsuit, and then I'll put it up.
Okay.
So one question I definitely had was, so when you have people like me and Lamar that are newbies into this world of extreme film, what would be, like, let's say your top 3 films that you recommend for the newbies, like, to get into this? You just jump in at the deep end, or what do you recommend?
You don't want to get too hard too fast, because then you'll be like, okay, that's it, I'm done, you know. I mean, like, you know, I'm not going to go tell you to watch Salo, 120 Days in Sodom.
Okay.
Which was released by Criterion, but yeah, that's terrible. I would say Antichrist with William Dafoe.
I've heard of that one. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
It's outrageous and extreme, but it's artsy enough and interesting enough to where you'd be like, okay, what else we got? Okay. You know, have you seen Irreversible?
I've seen parts of it, and I was like, whoa. I haven't finished it, and I was just like, that was extreme even for me. Yeah. So. Yeah,
but that's like a big budget, like, you know, real actor movie type of thing. You know, No Reason on Tubi. That's an extreme one.
Okay.
But, you know, it's not too extreme. It's still enjoyable if you can handle like a theological type of nightmare, you know. Yeah. It's a hard one to say, because I don't want to say something like, oh, you must see Slow Torture Pit Chamber, you know, because you got to be ready for that, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say Antichrist, Irreversible, and if you want to dip your toes into something, you know, the Salo 120 Days of Sodom, because that was released by Criterion. They also released the movie Sweet Movie, and that's a weird artsy thing. But man, it's like really, yeah. But it's great. But it's straight, and you're going to be watching it going, what the hell am I watching? What is it? What's going? What? How do you know? That's the only cool thing with a lot of extreme movies is it makes you question why you're watching it in the first place. You know, I did a Bouquet of Guts and Gore, and that was my first movie, but it's just the disassembling of 2 women for the whole movie.
Okay.
And, you know, we premiered that at the Housecore Horror Film Festival, and they showed it twice because it was a packed house each time. And the people would come up to me afterwards. They're like, man, I had the hardest time watching it. He's like, it was amazing. But I'm sitting there going, why am I watching this? What am I still sitting here? Do I like this? I think I like this. I don't know. This is wrong. But this is, I'm going to, this, And I'm like, did you finish it? They're like, yeah. And I'm like, what'd you think? Oh, dude, yeah, that was badass. Yeah, yeah. So that's the thing, that the extreme horror is, it's fun to see what, you push your limits.
Right.
Well, what new projects do you have coming out soon with Unearthed Films?
Well, we're finishing a movie called The Profane Exhibit. That one's been in the works for over 13 years, and it's gonna be like the most extreme anthology film ever made. It's got Marion Dore, who I brought up, Ruggiero Diodato from Cannibal Holocaust, Yui Bowl, and people. It was buried because they couldn't finish it, but we're finishing it. And in fact, we'll be finished with it in about 2 weeks. I'm working on American Guinea Pig Slaughter of the Swine. That'll be a new guinea pig, and it's I have a different director making it, and it's basically just an out of control Illuminati satanic ritual.
Okay.
And just out, it's just, but it'll be a little bit more cheesier.
Okay.
It's not as vicious as the other, because the effects are a little bit, little lower than the others, but that's part of the fun, because it'll have some cheesiness to it. So, but then we got American Guinea Pig Chum Bucket being made right now. That's about a guy who owns an abandoned aquarium.
Okay.
And people find it. It kills them and feeds them to the sharks. Because that's what you got to do. And then I'm working on a Serbian documentary. Personally, I'm directing that. Got the interviews with all the actors and everybody from Serbia. I'm just working on the translation, because I had over 130 hours worth of behind the scenes footage that they shot during it. And I had to cut that down to like 3.5 hours. Got a bunch of other titles too. I can say it here first. Nobody knows yet, but we're releasing the full R-rated cut of the Guyver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The Guyver's never seen a release on DVD in full uncut before.
Okay, cool.
So that should be cool, because it stars Mark Hamill, and that's surprising.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yeah. Also, this will be an exciting year for you guys then.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
I mean, we're bidding on tons of other movies too, so who knows what we're going to come up with.
Well, before we wrap it up, one thing that we didn't mention, not extreme horror, but us being a B-movie podcast, we have to say we love Bubba, the redneck werewolf, which is one of your creations.
So thank you.
Excellent on that. And where could everyone connect with you guys? The social media, the websites, all that stuff.
We're unearthedfilms.com. You can order and take a look at trailers and stuff. And then we have the normal, facebook.com/unearthedfilms. But then we have a secret closed group.
Oh, okay.
That, when you find it, you got to ask to join it. And that's where everybody talks about all the extreme horror movies. We let everybody talk about everything. So everybody's very helpful, and actually like one of the friendliest places on the planet, just because we're all demented and we're all cool with that, So, but we're on Twitter and Instagram. All you got to do is just look up Unearthed Films.
Well, thanks for joining us, Stephen Biro. Unearthed Films opened up our minds to new things.
Boy, did you. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Enjoy future films, and thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Later.
Thanks for watching that interview. When you like, subscribe, and share, it really helps boost my self-esteem.
It's not going to make up for your dick.